Hello, everyone, and welcome to another Wednesday drawing session with me, Frank Cho. There's my trusty Pentel mechanical pencil with zero point 0.7 HB millimeter lead and my kneaded eraser. And there's my favorite paper to draw on, Strathmore Bristolboard 300 series with vellum surface. Today, I am going to draw Akira. It was one of my favorite movies from my childhood. I actually didn't know what the hell was going on when I watched the movie first time I saw it, and later on as I got older, I watched it again and I understood a lot more of it. So anyway, I am actually drawing not Akira. Akira is the basically the first super being in the movie. I'm gonna draw Tetsuo. So Tetsuo was the main villain of the story. So Tetsuo belonged to a gang led by Kaneda, who is his best friend, and he had this inferiority complex against him. And so what happened was Tetsuo basically, in the beginning of the movie, crashed into one of these, like a mutant kid, which triggered his latent psychic powers. And that kind of like led him to basically this psychosis where he can't control his power, which basically drove him mad. And so all of his insecurity bubbles up and then turns him into this big giant monster. So the version I'm drawing is from the movie, not the comic book. So the comic book was created by Otomo, and he's absolutely incredible artist, incredible writer and artist, and because on the strength of the manga, the comic book series, it was actually turned into a movie, which was also co-written by Otomo. So that was my first introduction to Akira. The movie was, and later on, when I was in college, I actually read the actual comic book, which was like kind of different from the movie, and more stuff explained, because in the movie they kind of glossed over certain things, and I couldn't understand what was happening. So Tetsuo, the main villain, so he becomes this uber human, this psychic with psychic power and all that. And in the movie, he basically get his arms blown off by Kaneda, who is one-time friend, now became his foe. Kaneda just blow his arms away with a laser rifle, I think, if I remember correctly. I mean, I should have watched the movie before I started drawing this thing. So anyway, by then, Tetsuo's psychic power has become full blown, and so he started regrowing the missing arm, but the missing arm become this grotesque mutated blobby thing. So with that in mind, I decided to just really focus on the mutated arm. And Tatsuo has this weird, in the movie anyway, has this kind of a odd look about him. He has this massive forehead with a receding hairline, and and just had this very distinct look. And so there I am drawing the hair. Now, so when you're drawing the hair, you just don't really think too much about the individual strands. Just go ahead and just like draw it as like a mass, almost like a scarf blowing in the wind. So that's what I like to think, when I draw hair. And so he had this in the manga and the movie. Tetsuo, actually, a lot of the characters has this very young looking face, which which is a stylistic decision. So I try to kind of stay true to that. I mean, having like a big giant forehead and big eyes, it does kind of pretty much, that's the style, manga style. So, like in the movie, I had Tetsuo kind of like he's going mad. I mean, he can't control his psychic abilities, so he's basically has gone mad. And I try to convey that sense of madness as he's holding his damaged, deformed arm, and he's kind of like half laughing and half grimacing in pain. So as you notice that when I'm drawing, I tend to erase constantly. I actually erase more than I actually draw sometimes, which is fine. So during this pencil stage, you should just basically be fearless, be willing to make mistakes because it's just pencil. If you make a mistake, you just erase it. Like the old saying goes, if it looks right, it's right. If it looks wrong, then it's wrong. But don't be afraid to make mistakes. That's the only way you learn, by making mistakes. So I try not to make stay. I'm trying to stay true to the animation and the manga by not making them very muscular, like American superheroes. So if I'm drawing American superheroes, they'll be like all jacked up. But with manga, a lot of these characters are very kind of like realistic. Tend to be like a like skinny kids. Not kid, but skinny. Tend to be skinny, body shape wise. So when I watched the movie, I really didn't understand. When I first watched the movie, I really didn't understand what was going on. I just thought it was just they're just such really cool images and all that. So what happened was Akira was this the first superhuman psychic that ultimately destroyed Tokyo and triggered World War III in 2019. And then from the ashes, from the ruins of the old Tokyo, a new Tokyo was built in the Bay of Tokyo. And so when Tatsuo was injured in a big bike crash, that I guess that near death experience kind of triggered his latent psychic abilities, and that psychic abilities is very similar to Akira's. So the government officials came when they basically detected the power level on potential power level on Tatsuo. They basically take him to a secret government facility to kind of keep him contained and also to study him. And that's pretty much the story. And then it turned out the secret government base already have other ESPers, these kind of like paranormal, psychic, superhuman children. They're kind of like breeding and experimenting on essentially. And then so Tatsuo escapes because his powers are growing, and then he becomes more and more psychotic. And I guess in his, I should really reread this. So they found out that Akira has the power to basically nullify Tetsuo because Tetsuo's power was just becoming uncontrollable. And so the mission is to basically go search for Akira, who turned out to be underneath the secret base, underneath the stadium, this Olympic stadium. So there's a big final fight at the stadium between Kaneda and Tatsuo and all these other mutant kids. And eventually they uncover Akira because in the book I'm getting the book and the movie mixed up, but essentially Akira is the only being that could stop Tetsuo. So when they discover Akira, he's basically all chopped up. So the government has like chopped up the body and has like put him in like different specimen jars and to for study. And then because he's so strong, or Akira is so strong, or Tetsuo is so strong, I'm not exactly sure what happens, but Akira is reformed. Basically all the body parts are just reconnected, and Akira is reborn. and 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 basically he does take Tetsuo away into this, basically, in the process destroys Neo Tokyo. So like the old Tokyo, the Neo Tokyo gets destroyed by Akira. I guess not really Akira, but by Tetsuo, which the government was afraid of in the first place. And that's how it ends. And then so apparently, I didn't understand it at the time when I watched the movie, but Akira takes Tatsuo to basically another plane of existence or another dimension or something like that. And then they from their combined energy or whatever creates another universe or something like that. So it's basically really kind of highbrow stuff, which was like way over my head growing up when I was watching this. I was just watching it for the really cool motorcycle fights and people shooting and fighting stuff like that. So when I when I read the comic book, when they explained all this stuff to me, it made a lot more sense after I read the comic book and rewatched the movie. So the secret to drawing that arm was it's just a bunch like a big pulsating mass of organic flesh and bits and pieces of electronic, machine. Because I think I remember he basically reforms his arm, basically creates like a bionic arm for himself after his arms get blown off. Tatsuo, his power is so crazy that he managed to reform his arm using a bunch of different machine parts. And then when his power becomes out of control, his body just regrows the arm, kind of swallowing all the mechanical parts. So it becomes like this big, almost like a cancerous tumor, mixing with little bits of mechanical bits. What's the hardest part about drawing these comic book is drawing normal people, because I'm so used to drawing these superheroes with these big Mr. Olympic size muscles and body proportions. With supermodel body proportions. It is kind of hard to draw just like regular people. There's the boots. It's just fun, just scribbling away. So I noticed that that lower leg was a little too long. I mean, after a while, you could kind of like, yeah. People ask me like, how do you know your proportions? It's just after a while. I mean, I've been drawing since I was a little kid, study anatomy nonstop. After a while, the sense of anatomy just like kind of like clicks into your mind, so you can tell whether or not a certain limb is too long or too short. It just becomes like second nature. So right away after I finished drawing that one leg, I noticed that it was just too long, and you fixed it, and then basically I fixed it. And people also ask me, well, how do you know how to draw the fabric folds and how certain things kind of like fold and hangs on a body. That is another thing that you just like, just comes with practice, you know. The guy who can really draw these knee high boots was Al Williamson. And I would just study Al Williamson stuff in general because he was just absolutely just a master artist. So George Lucas was influenced by, when he created Han Solo, he was influenced by Al Williamson's drawings, you know, because George Lucas was a big fan of Flash Gordon and all that, and Al Williamson actually drew Flash Gordon, and so Al Williamson's drawing kind of influenced George Lucas on how Han Solo looks, which is kind of cool because like George Lucas hired Al Williamson to draw the Star Wars newspaper comic strip later. And Al Williamson just absolutely just killed it. I mean, his art on the Star Wars newspaper strip was just absolutely just top notch. So I'm just having an absolute blast drawing this. I mean, people just naturally assume. A lot of my critics pretty much pigeonholed me into being just a pinup artist who likes to draw like women, you know, a good girl artist. But they never give me credit for drawing stuff beyond pinup stuff. But this is my first love. I mean, I love drawing. I'm a big horror guy, so I love drawing monsters and stuff like that. So I mean, don't get me wrong. I love drawing women, but you know, I can draw. You know, I love to draw stuff beyond women. You know, but I shouldn't complain. You know, drawing, being labeled a pinup artist has served me very well, and made me a comfortable living. But yeah, I really love drawing monsters and creatures and sci-fi and fantasy stuff. I keep hearing that there might be making a Akira like live action. It's gonna be interesting. I'm not sure if they could pull it off because I saw Ghost in the Shell, and I know they got a lot of crap for for whitewashing and all that Hollywood stuff. To be honest with you, I thought it was fine. I thought the Ghost in the Shell was fine, and I thought the casting was fine. I really didn't care. I thought it's just overall, I thought they did a really nice job with it. But because of the moderate success and all the controversy over Ghost in the Shell, I don't think they're ever going to make an Akira live action. So when you're drawing the cape, you just don't worry about, you just want to have like this general shape. So the shape is more important than, all the little details. just shading. Shading and more shading. So when I first started drawing, I used to avoid smudging because I'm a very like kind of a like an OCD guy. I like nice clean lines and stuff like that. But after a while, it just the pencil stage is just becomes all like giant smudge mess. And then after a while, you just embrace it and just incorporate the smudge into your drawing. Just and it just adds that extra texture and and the softness to certain parts, which actually makes it look more has this really cool visual look about it. And also, I'm a big Frazetta fan, so I noticed that when Frank draw these pencil stuff, he would basically just smudge the hell out of it, just kind of like gray tone it with his pencil. So, hey, if the great Frank Frazetta could do it, then then I guess it must be okay. So that's when I just stopped drawing these like super clean drawings, and I just like start smudging it. So when I draw like veins and stuff like that, I like to put like to lay down a like some shade down, and then instead of just drawing it, I just kind of like erase the vein into it, lifting the graphite, and then kind of like and then just kind of like outline it underneath. Um, so that's an easy way to kind of create this really cool vein looking veins in arms and stuff like that. Now, when I was drawing this arm, I really didn't have any plan. At this point, I'm just kind of like drawing how it feels, just going with the basic shape. Since in the movie, his arm just becomes this giant pulsating tumor, that was constantly changing shape. But the only rule that you have to like follow when drawing Tetsuo's mutated arm is try to make it organic. That was the only thing. And then so in the movie he has this like it almost looked like guts to a certain degree, just pouring out of him. So with that in mind, I tried to like really make the arm has like this almost like an intestinal look about it. Yeah, I'm just kind of just putting in a quick layer of like gray tone into it. Just makes the overall drawing, that much more three dimensional and unique. So yeah, so like the his in the movie his that mutated arm, it looked like a big giant pulsating cancerous intestine, was constantly shifting and changing shape. So when I'm drawing this, I'm just making it up. I mean, I'm just like there is no plan, and since it's arm, I decided to incorporate some like some of the finger element into it, finger design elements, and and the fingernails and stuff like that. Yeah, it has this little kind of like these little spore like texture, and then just like this weird little this kind of like sprouting flesh tentacle that would pop out. So again, I'm not really planning anything. I'm just going with the flow of the plane of that arm, you know. Almost like a gentle river that follows the form of the land. Just darkening the outline of the original sketches. So I'm sure you guys are asking, so how do you know when to add those little weird nodules and stuff like that? I don't. I'm just like going with my gut feeling, you know. If something needs some kind of texture is needed over there, I just add it. So there I am, drawing the vein or erasing the vein, and kind of like following the form that I've already laid down. Yeah, the guy who drew really great veins was Frazetta. Everything Frazetta drew had like really just had this great organic power. There's a dynamism about his stuff. It's just like can't be just can't be duplicated, you know. Frazetta was definitely a one of a kind, an absolute master of his craft. Just adding extra boils here and there. Making that boots darker. And then go in adding highlights by with the eraser. Now adding the concrete floor of the stadium, of the broken stadium. Again, I'm just going with the flow, and there's no real plan. I'm just like adding stuff as I go along. Just give it that broken bit look. So adding the underside of the cape from the other side. Adding more wrinkles on the jeans. Sort of just adding. At this point, I'm just doing cleanup, just erasing straight mark, reinforcing some of the line work, adding highlights. Doing little touch-ups. And I'm just erasing the stray marks. Just cleaning up the drawing at this point. And there it is. Akira. Tetsuo. Thank you, everyone.